Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. We're coming at you live from New York. This is Spirit Matters, your daily Bhakti Center spiritual check-in. My name is Dal Guranga Das, and I'm here with Achyuta Gopi Devi, your co-host for today. This week, again, Kishore Chandra is out, not with us in India, and we're glad to be here. It's Monday for us, morning for us. We're here live. It's 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We got our Zoom audience with us, and you're here with us wherever you are, driving your car, washing your dishes, putting your kids to sleep, taking a shower, going for a walk, going for a run, sitting on the couch while you're working. We won't tell your boss. Don't worry. Maybe you are the boss and you want to get all your employees together and just have a daytime break for Spirit Matters, whatever works for you. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be really cool? It's like, hey, everybody, we're taking a half-hour break and we're going to go listen to Spirit Matters. And then we're all going to talk about how it makes us better employees. People should be paying us for this kind of stuff, but we don't. We do it for free because we love you and we appreciate you. And we're glad that you're here. And we check in with ourselves. We read the Bhagavad Gita, get a little bit of inspiration, and then take that into our lives. That's what we do. That's why we're here. And how are you, Achyuta?
Blessed, sheltered here. We good.
Blessed, sheltered. Here you go. You want to tell people about India? And Achyuta's going to India in the fall, and we
Woo!
want you to go with her.
End of September, early October. Please come. It's gonna be magical.
Magical.
Uh, it's gonna be filled with lots of like romantic bhakti things.
Ooh,
And
romantic bhakti things.
yeah, there's a lot that happens. There's gonna be some really great stories.
Mm.
And as I love telling stories, I'm gonna be telling a lot of them on this retreat.
Achyuta's a
So
great
many stories to tell.
storyteller. It's a great storyteller. So come with us to India. It'll be, like she said, and in the fall time. Go to bhakticenter.org, click the link, don't miss out. Also, community groups are happening. Community groups. Go to the Bhakti Center. Look up our beginning and growing Bhakti community groups to connect. Some of them are in person if you're in the New York area. Some of them are online if you're around the world. They're great ways to be connected and take your spiritual life a little bit deeper in with connection with others. So those are the things you want you to do. Also, please check out bhakticenter.org. Check out all the good stuff. Okay, got that out of the way. Should we launch into it?
Let's do it.
We're launching. We've been in the beginning of the 4th chapter. If you are new or just getting into the Bhagavad Gita is a book of ancient spiritual wisdom applied to our lives today, understanding, approaching life with the context of eternity in mind, keeping in mind the fact that whatever you're going through, it's important, it's real, it's right there in front of you. We're not here to minimize anybody's struggles. We all go through struggles. Part of this podcast is for us to be able to be honest about the fact that spiritual life is not always clean cut and, fit into a mold, but that we are messy individuals with messy lives trying to walk the straight and narrow. And it's always going to find ourselves walking off the beaten path and getting back on, taking 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 5 steps forward, and all in and around. So it's not to discredit the difficulties and challenges we face in life and the circumstances we find ourselves in, but at the same time, how to navigate it through the context of eternity. Can I remind myself, step back every now and then and be like, whoa, I'm an eternal spirit soul. I existed before this problem. I will exist after this problem. This problem will not outlast me. This frustration, this injustice, this breakup, this sadness, this illness, this disease, this crisis will not outlast me. It doesn't make it go away or make it painless, but it does give us a context of how we bring in our spirituality to our daily lives. And so we read the Bhagavad Gita. We're in the 4th chapter, and we've been discussing the beginning of the 4th chapter, which is a lot there. We've just been reading these first 3 verses over and over because there's so much there where Krishna is speaking to Arjuna and talking about the idea of transference of spiritual knowledge throughout history and throughout ages, the idea of teachers, the idea of receptivity, the idea of openness and surrender, the idea of relationship and accepting things through relationship, the idea of the mood in which we receive knowledge and information. All of that's there. And so I feel like we can probably just start there, see if we want to stay there and uncover something more, or we want to move on. But I'm just laying the scene here, and then I turn it over to Juta, who says something meaningful.
I say we should move to the next two verses because they kind of go really well with the intro that you just laid out.
Okie dokies. Go for it.
So, next two verses. Krishna has been telling Arjuna that he has been disseminating this knowledge about the spirit soul and the way the universe works for millennia. And he first instructed it to the sun god. And some people might be wondering, um, most people call the sun god Surya Dev. But here we have the sun god named Vivaswan. Now it's like, how does this reconcile? And the point of that is that Surya Dev is actually like a title. It's like calling somebody Mr. President. And Vivaswan is actually the name of the person, which is why we have so many differing names for the sun god and also the moon god and so many others. You have their title post, like Indra is a post. It's the name of the king of the heavens. It's just his post. But he also has a name. So here we talk about Vivaswan. And Arjuna brings up a very, very, really brilliant point. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed this science to him? Because Arjuna is thinking, Krishna, you and I are contemporaries, and
We're
not just
bros. We're
contemporary.
bros.
Yeah, we're kind of the same age, which is why they get along so well. Arjuna has older brothers, and Krishna has an older brother, and he has older siblings, etc., etc. And so Arjuna's thinking, not only are we contemporaries, but we're the same age. How are you telling me that long ago you instructed this to the sun god and many, many kings? To which Krishna replies, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. Although I am unborn, and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form.
Mm,
The verse that I really love is, many, many births both you and I have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot, O subduer of the enemy. And I always think about this verse when the new year comes and everybody's like, new year, new me. I'm like, what if it's a new year and it's the same you? And I feel like
mm.
that's also okay.
Is that a
Krishna,
bad thing? It's the same. Hey, how is New Year, New You? Nope, just saying me. Oh
same me.
man. Oh
Um,
man.
yeah. But wonderful thing is Krishna has seen all of the yous, even the ones
Mm,
we don't remember. And Krishna has been with us through all of the us's that we may or may not remember, and all of
mm.
the versions of us that we will have in this life and any other lives that will ever be taken.
Yeah.
And so Krishna is saying, we've been through this
Mm,
together for a long time. And I can remember all of them, but you cannot, which means that all of the things that we think we might have done, Krishna's seen it, been
mm,
there, done that. He's seen us at a worst, far worse than we can even remember.
mm.
And he hasn't forsaken us.
Yeah.
Still here. So when you were saying that, you know, this this grief is not bigger than me. Whatever obstacle I'm facing is not bigger than me. Krishna is now reminding us, and you've seen and faced bigger obstacles. You just can't remember them, but I remember every single one. And he doesn't say this to Arjuna condescendingly or in a chastising way to say, how could you not remember me? How could you not remember our relationship and our friendship? It's just simply statement of fact. We've been through a lot together, and I'm still here, and I will continue to be here. And Krishna will continue to remind us over and over and over again, every single time we forget, not if we forget, but every time we will forget, because undoubtedly we're going to forget. But Krishna has such
Mm,
unlimited patience.
mm. No, I won't give up on us. Even when the times get rough. I feel like that's the theme of the Bhagavad Gita. Who is that? Jason Mraz? You know that
Somebody.
song? Somebody. She's like, I don't know that song.
I do know that song. I just didn't pay attention to who it was by.
Two things. So beautiful, Chuta. Thank you so much for sharing that. There was two things I wanted to say. One was just if you're still listening to us and haven't tuned out after hearing about a sun god and a moon god, um, that the idea of Vedic cosmology in the universe
Wait,
is
why
extreme.
would we tune out after that? That was the exciting part.
That was the
Like,
exciting part. Like, wait, are we gonna get back to the sun god and the moon
that's
god?
it. Everybody loves a little fantasy in their day. I mean, who doesn't? Like you'd have to have no soul and not have wanted to read Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. I mean, really.
And neither of them talk about the sun god. But the idea of the universe being the idea of extraordinary personalism, that just like, I live in an apartment building in New York City. I pay my bills every month. There's a water bill, there's an electricity bill, there's idea of like, if there are utilities coming, there's a place in which they're coming from. And so the ideas of the utilities of the universe that ultimately are run by beings, by higher beings that are directing the nature and overseeing the functioning of the universe, whether it be the light, the wind, the rain, the general functioning of the laws of the universe. And so you'll hear things, the idea of the sun god or the moon god, and we use these words kind of like God, which is kind of like are the best English. In Sanskrit, it's the devas, meaning higher beings that are above us. Because in one sense, it'd be pretty. I always find it pretty sad. I don't know if sad's the right word, or just kind of like womp womp, if like we're the highest beings in the universe. Like this is it. Human beings of planet Earth are the most evolved, highest thinking, most technologically advanced beings in the universe. And it's just kind of like, really? Do we really have that? Is that like the best that's out there? Like one of my favorite movies that maybe I've referenced this before is Contact, which is based off a book by Carl Sagan, starring Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey in their younger days. And the idea is contact, like it's an extraterrestrial movie about contact with life outside our own. And the whole movie is like this buildup of like, there's like some sort of some signal that indicates intelligent life out there, and they're trying to what it is and trying to contact it, and respond contact. And Jodie Foster's asked this question, like, if you were to meet this life force or this culture, this civilization, what would you ask them? What question would you ask them? And her question was, how did you do it? Meaning, how did you like clearly you are some advanced civilization with extraordinary technology. How did you manage to advance in civilization without destroying yourself? Because that's the path that we seem to be on today in human society on planet Earth. It's like we are not moving towards a culture and a plan of sustainability. We are selling the mortgage. We are burning fuel, and we are, not thinking several generations ahead. And the technology is like beyond us. And so her question was like, how do you manage to like harness tremendous technology without destroying yourselves? And I thought it was an interesting question because it sort of speaks to the idea of like, we can't be the most advanced civilization out there. We just can't be. And so the idea of devas, of higher beings that are functioning and running the universe, that was, I think I referenced this before. It was Carl Sagan and one other person, I forget who it was, that would have these scientific debates, and they're both scientists. And one would ask the other, one was a theist and one was an atheist, and one would ask the other, with everything you know about science, how could you possibly believe in a personal God? And the other would ask, with everything you know about science, how could you not? And they would debate back and forth. And so I just think this idea, when we say things like sun god Surya Dev and Chandra and Vayu, and you learn, it's not that there's like a million and one different gods that people worship, but it's the idea that everything is personal, and that there are higher beings that we can't always necessarily perceive with our limited senses, which our senses are quite limited. I can't hear things that dogs can hear. I can't see things that eagles can hear. I can't, you know, notice things that other animals and other beings can notice. Our senses are limited, and they're just higher beings out there. So I just wanted to put that out there, to qualify when we have this kind of conversation, because otherwise it can seem like we're in the world of Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, but actually it's quite beautiful, deep, scientific, and practical. So that was point number one, which
Yeah, like
wasn't
you,
the main wasn't the main point I wanted to share, but I wanted to put that out there.
but I also want to, like, why not? Like, what is so bad about being in the fantastical world of Harry Potter and Vedic cosmology and the whole deal? Like, to be honest though,
I
Harry
don't think
Potter
it's
is way subpar when it comes to.
I don't think it's bad. I think it just I think that we in a lot of ways we've been conditioned to accept, like, the idea, like, do you believe in miracles, right? What is a miracle? Miracle is something that I can't scientifically explain. There's so many things we can't scientifically explain that we just accept. So there are certain miracles that we believe are acceptable. The sun freaking rising every morning. You know what I mean? Like, and we will explain, it's like how we are like little tiny like spiders on the edge of the ocean looking out across trying to understand what's a tsunami, you know? And so it's just so massive what we're trying to extend. And so there are certain miracles that we just accept every day, like human life. You know what I mean? Anybody feel like we understand, like, I remember one of my high school science teachers, he was a geology teacher, like real textbook, stereotypical scientist kind of dude. And he would say, we're really good at explaining the how in science. We're not good at explaining the why. I can explain to you how gravity works. I can't tell you why it works that way as opposed to the opposite. Like, why do greater objects attract each other rather than repel each other, you know? Or like, we sleep every day. Why, you know? Why does the body need a certain number of sleep, and why that amount of sleep? And in human life, it's like, okay, I can tell you scientifically that, like, two beings come together, exchange fluids, and a being is born in a belly, and it literally is existing in the womb of that being for 9 months,
10 months.
growing in a belly,
They
10
lied. They
months,
lie to you. It's 10 months.
10 months. It comes out of the same passageway that it came in,
And they're
and
just
then it
like there's
feeds itself. It feeds itself off the same being that gave it birth. And all of a sudden, that being is able to convert
into a
vegetables, grains, whatever they're eating, convert it into milk, a nourishing, life-giving substance that the baby is then able to eat. And all the cells in the body, like, science doesn't understand, how do cells know which cells to become?
I can tell you, as a person who has gone through it and thought about it as they were going through it, it doesn't make any scientific
Doesn't
sense.
make any sense.
They lied, and if you haven't gone through it, if I suggest you try and go through it.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're gonna try and go through it, but you should try it. If you've never been through it, it is one of
I'm never gonna try it.
you should try it, Doyle.
I can't try it.
Give it a try.
I'll give it a try.
It is one of the most interesting, inexplicable experiences ever. If you try to think about it rationally with your mind, it will not work. It does not work. They will have to extricate the child from you if you try to think about it too much. You can't think about it.
Yeah.
You just have to go along with
Yeah.
it. And Srila Prabhupada,
Totally.
he has a line that I've always loved. Heard it when I was young, loved it ever since. Srila Prabhupada says, everyone says that the mind of the scientist is very great, but no one ever stops to think who created the mind of the scientist.
Right. I was yesterday at the Bhakti Center. Dina Bandhu Prabhu gave a class, and he was talking about, it was about creativity and bhakti, and he was saying that, like, we can create. He said God is a creator and we're also creators, but there's a difference. So, like, when I create, I want to paint a flower, I require the brush, I require the paint, I require the paper, I require the intelligence. And we don't ask where. I'm not an independent creator, you know. And so I think also, the idea of like life being born, and like which cells know which, like how do cells know some cells start becoming, because when you begin it's just a cell, it's just an egg and a sperm, and all of a sudden at some point certain cells know to become an eye, they know to become a nose, they know to become a tooth. And there are just certain miracles that we just accept because they're commonplace. We just accept certain miracles. Um and we've been conditioned by society that some things are just, we just accept them, and other things we don't. And so when we hear certain things, there's a huge information bias, there's a huge bias in scientific communities about like what we accept is just like, that's a part of life, of course, and what we just say like that's just crazy. Like, why is it crazy? Like, who said it's crazy? Like, are we allowing ourselves to just like question something and ask a little bit about like other alternatives of like how the world is working? And so I don't think it's bad to like have a worldview where there are these different devas, but I think that some people, because of the conditioning we have of the world we live in, we hear certain things and we immediately discredit.
And it
We hear
really,
certain, and
it's definitely a conditioning, because and you'll get it if you've been practicing bhakti for any length of time. You'll get the dreaded like idol worship conversation. And
totally.
I always bring it kind of back to, and I'm like, wait a second, but you say that other religions have said that's it, no, no idols, and therefore I am somehow breaking all of your rules, but it's okay for you to throw large sums of money, to put up posters of, to revere and essentially look up to and idolize any and every sports personality.
Go Chiefs.
Except that part. Like everybody puts up posters and bumper stickers, and you are swearing your allegiance to this sports person who is fallible and limited and will probably never ever know you or even care about you. And yet, for the celestial persons that I can respect and give my honor to, somehow
Mm,
or other that is unacceptable. But
yeah.
the regular mortals, which is what I really think they were speaking about, that's okay.
Yeah. It's
So yeah,
totally random and conditional. And what happens is we start to, not through logic and reasoning, discredit things, but through character assassination and name calling. That's just stupid. That's crazy. Again, like some things we just assume. Like, for example, like we talk about like evolution, right? We talk about the idea of like preservation of species, like nature's design. And it's just like every species, like we this the idea of like evolution, and the idea of the continuation of a species is based off of the idea that like species, like survival, like trying to preserve their species. Like why do animals care about their young? Like, why? Doesn't make any sense. I don't Well, because you're trying to carry on your species. Like, why do I care if my species survives? Why do I care? I'm going to die in 5 years or 10 years. I'm a lion. I'm going to die in 5, 10 years. Why do I care if my species survives? There's just this assumption like, oh, well, it's just built in. We want our species to survive. Like, why?
besides that, right? Other animals come out of the womb, stand up, and run. Human babies come out of the womb and they are essentially completely useless for at least a year.
I would say more like 20.
See? But like, we accept that like, oh, the other animals and their lower life forms, but they come out of the womb, they stand up and they run. They start kind of like doing things for themselves. Human babies do nothing. Don't expect anything from them. Even if the expectation is too much, they get gas. Like it, it's so intense and we don't question it. And Srila Prabhupada says, he's like, there's kind of no such thing as instinct or coincidence.
Hmm.
Srila Prabhupada says the fact that we have been roaming around in these various bodies for so long,
Mm.
is what creates what we call instinct. Because
Mm.
why do little baby antelopes and giraffes, they stand up, they get going? And it's like, why? How do they know? Like, what if they're
I've
not even
heard
supposed to be as smart as us?
he said
How
we've
in the
done this
world?
before.
Right. And so Srila Prabhupada's, the Vedic theory is that we've been doing this for so long, it's muscle memory, but built into the soul. And this
The
is where we
subtle
get
body.
samskaras. Yeah, we get all of these different samskaras and impressions. Your soul has muscle memory. And so
Mm.
we see it even with people today. Why do we think that sometimes there is such a disparity between the body that you're in and what is happening inside? Your soul has some scars and impressions, has muscle memory. And sometimes that muscle memory is saying, I kind of remember doing something else. And the body doesn't always fit. And so this is, the universe of that one verse opening. Many, many births, both you and I have taken. I can remember all,
Mm.
you cannot. And it opens up an entire universe of conversation, which I love.
Deja vu is not just a glitch in the matrix. Deja vu means you have seen this before. Maybe not just in this life, though. Maybe not just in this life. I love this conversation. I want to keep it going, but we're hitting time here. This was great. At least I hope all the people that are like they're like, yeah, all the people that are like conditioned to think a certain way, they're like, this is not, I have walked into the wrong room. We're so glad that you're here and we love you. We can continue this conversation tomorrow. Also, the other thing that I was going to shout out was, I love the idea when you're talking about, new year, new me, and like, what about the new me? And what if there is no new me? There was a lot I wanted to share on that. We can maybe write that down, pick it up tomorrow. I'm not going to say what I was going to say because that'll launch me into a whole nother monologue. Let's go ahead and turn it over to Kimberly. Kimberly is our officially coronated Wrap It Up Acharya here at our podcast. And so if you are want to take notes and like little takeaways, we encourage you to lean in, turn up the volume, and hear what Kimberly's got to say, because she's going to give a few takeaways for us that we can keep with us to wrap up what we've been sharing. And then Achyuta and I will share a closing word. Then we'll send you on your way. What you got for us, Kimberly?
All right. Today we're taking away that we've been through a lot together with Krishna. He has unlimited patience and will continue to be there for us. To let's get personal. That's one song. And the person who created the mind of the scientist is really great. There's no such thing as instinct or coincidence. Our soul has muscle memory, and life being born is a miracle and makes no stinking sense.
Makes no sense. Makes no material sense. Makes a lot of spiritual sense. Closing word, Achyuta?
Just that if there is no new me, that's perfectly fine. And once I actually get to know the truest version of me, that's good enough for Krishna.
Yeah. Beautiful. What I was going to say, and you kind of set me up for it leading into it, was like, what about the old me? Why is the need to be the new me? Maybe I need to forget all of these new versions of me and get back to the original me. And I think that's a profound spiritual concept, and that I wanted to look in a little bit tomorrow. The idea of actually spiritual life is not, it's not even a matter, like we talk about self-discovery, and we use that word like self-discovery. It's almost like like discovery means like when you discover something, it's not self-creation, it's self-discovery. Like you're looking for something like a metal detector and you're finding some buried treasure that was already there. You're discovering something, which means uncovering all the things that are blocking it. And so I also think that there's a value in thinking of like the old me in a good sense, like the original me that I want to find. And so taking that with me, and thank you, Achyuta. Thank you all for being here. If you want to join our live crew, we do this live every morning. We have a Zoom audience here. You can write to us at spiritmatters@bhakticenter.org. Please do us all a favor. Right now, after you finish listening to this in 30 seconds, go and rate this podcast, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, wherever you listen. 5-star rating, leave us a review. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your experience is, and we want you to share because it will help us reach and connect with more people. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Please be well. Take care. And we will see you next time.